I am standing in for Hada today, or actually sitting in for Hada. So thank you, everyone, and good morning. And I'd like to call to order the New York City Transit and Bus Committee meeting to order. So let's get started with our safety announcements.
Your safety is of foremost importance to the MTA. Therefore, we ask that you listen to the following instructions. In the event of an emergency, notify emergency personnel in the room and 911 should be called. If an alarm sounds, wait for a public address announcement and follow instructions. If told to go to another floor or to evacuate the building, leave all unessential items behind and use stairwell A just across the main hallway or stairwell D down the hallway past the elevators. An automated external defibrillator, AED, for use by trained personnel is in the main hallway just past the elevators. Thank you and have a safe day.
Welcome to the December Transit and Bus Committee meeting, and it's great to see you all. I'd like to start the meeting by thanking conductor Mandy Harford and train operator Tamika Waller for their extraordinary response during a service disruption on the L line in late November. T.O. Waller spotted an unauthorized person on the tracks, stopped her train, and kept close watch on the person while waiting for NYPD to respond. Meanwhile, conductor Hartford walked through the cars communicating with customers and keeping them informed throughout the entire incident. If you ask Hartford and Waller, they say they were just doing their job. While that may be true, it is certainly not a regular day on the job. This committee knows that they closely followed their training, ensured our customers were informed, and helped everyone remain calm during a tense situation, and most importantly, likely saved a life that day. These kinds of incidents in the subways appear to be on an uptick. While I believe some of these incidents are expected to increase with the colder weather, I hope we can partner more closely with NYPD and other agencies to help address these growing concerns, drive down these kinds of external incidents that cause delays, and hopefully help those in need, especially in the cold winter months. And before I hand it over to our speakers, I would like to thank New York City Transit employees for their continued dedication to their jobs and wish them and their families a happy holiday season. Public speakers, let's move to them.
Good morning. We have 11 members of the public registered to speak today. As a reminder, we ask that all public speakers adhere to the MTA's rules of conduct and decorum. Masks must be worn at all times by meeting participants and speakers when delivering any comments. I would also like to remind our public speakers that in the interest of time and fairness to all speakers, we limit everyone to 2 minutes. Please be aware that there will be a warning beep to remind you that you have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. The first speaker will be Jason Anthony, followed by Bradley Bashirs.
Good morning, Transit Committee. Good morning, Greg Cipriano. Jason Anthony from Amazon Labor Union. Another month, the same problem. Amazon is spreading false information that I want to confirm from New York City Transit. Amazon is spreading information that New York City Transit has hired 90 bus operators to cover the S40 and S90 buses that serves from St. George Terminal to the 4 Amazon buildings that are in the Bloomfield section of Staten Island, which I worked in the fulfillment center called JFK 8. That is the biggest building in that area. Today, I was supposed to be working my mandatory extra day, but instead I took voluntary time off to be here speaking in front of you guys. But we see 15-minute headways, but still crowded. People not wearing masks. Sarah, it is still your job to update those announcements and complying them with the TSA mandate that has been extended until March 13th, 2022. because yours truly has been seeing bus operators and passengers alike on train stations and aboard buses, and especially NYPD cops. Where are you, Catherine O'Reilly? We need you here now. So I'll see you guys in the next meeting, and happy holidays.
The next speaker is Bradley Bashirs, followed by Murray Bowden.
Good morning, board members. I'm Bradley Bashirs, Planning Manager at the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA PCAC. Last week, in a highly unusual but much appreciated move, Chair Jano Lieber stopped by a press conference highlighting bus rider blues and said, "You know who else is dissatisfied with bus service? This guy." A big step in finding the solution is acknowledging the problem. Fixing it takes even more effort, and while we anticipate that tweaks will continue to be made, we applaud the MTA for listening to thousands of Bronxites, reviewing their comments, studying new pandemic-form data, and making a true effort to address the needs of bus riders. Buses support the people who support New York. They are the backbone of our transit system. Jano said it best himself, buses are the engine of equity around the region. Throughout COVID and with the extreme weather we've seen, buses have come to the rescue of millions of New Yorkers. That's why it is so important that the redesigned routes meet riders' needs by increasing the speed, efficiency, and reliability of the Bronx transit network. The current redesign will strengthen mobility with able, protected bus lanes, transit signal priority, east-west connection priority corridors, and increased frequencies. Reducing congestion with new busways in Soundview and on high-traffic streets like Fordham Road, East 149th and 181st Streets is also key to speeding up buses that Bronx riders depend on. The plan leaves room for better bus connectivity to the 13 existing Bronx Metro North stations, not to mention the 4 new stations planned with Penn Station access. Continuing to improve connections between buses and subways and commuter rail stations is crucial to building a more equitable transit system that reaches every corner of the 5 boroughs and beyond. Additionally, tens of thousands of people who work and travel to LaGuardia from the Bronx would benefit from a direct bus route. Just a few miles away, yet it is a long journey using transit. Please be sure to include it in the Queens bus redesign. We are looking forward to seeing the transformed Bronx bus network, and thank you for your efforts on behalf of riders. Thank you.
The next speaker is Murray Bowden, followed by Jolise Race.
I commend the subway and bus teams for paying attention, for planning ahead, for doing all those things that everybody asks somebody to do. They do it. Sure, things don't always work out the way they're planned. There are things that happen that are unexpected, but the planning is there. The planning for the next 20 years. The planning for the people who have problems like me who can't hear and keep track anymore. They're planning for us in ways that I'm not even sure. Global warming has changed everything. Not everybody believes it. It's not my job to make them understand it. But those who plan do understand it. They plan for people like me who can't hear, people like me who can't see as well as we used to. And so I commend the teams from buses and transit for paying attention and doing the best that I expect them to do. And all those people that have taught me over the years and helped me learn, thank you to all of them. I can't remember all the names anymore. It's been a pleasure to come here, and I enjoy seeing you face to face. It makes a whole big difference. Thank the entire bus and subway teams from me and other people like me who appreciate what they do. Thank you.
The next speaker is Jolise Race, followed by Cecilia Ellis.
My name is Jolise Race, and I am an organizer for Riders Alliance. We're a grassroots organization that fights for better public transportation in New York City. and I'm here today to speak in support of the Bronx Bus Network redesign. I spent a lot of time canvassing in the Bronx this summer, and there's no reason it should take a half hour in the Soundview area to get from White Plains Road to Story Avenue. Even in my own neighborhood, the buses stop every 2 bus stops, making what should be a 10-minute ride a 30-minute ride. The buses in New York City are very slow and inefficient. They're the slowest in the entire country. And the bottom line is that riders deserve better. Bus riders are working class people that are keeping the economy running every single day. And I just want to applaud the MTA for planning to implement these redesigns and starting in the Bronx. It's what the city deserves and it's what riders deserve. Thank you.
The next speaker will be Cecilia Ellis, followed by Charlton D'Souza.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Cecilia Ellis, but I will be speaking on behalf of NYPERG Strap Hangers member and Bronx Community College student Fanta Drame. So thank you so much for the opportunity to share my experiences with the Bronx bus system. Across New York, students are directly impacted by the decisions made regarding public transportation, because for students across the city, a functional bus system is crucial for our access to an education. A dependable bus system is the foundation for how we balance academics with our work and family. A dependable bus system allows us to pursue a future of our choosing. As a student at Bronx Community College, my own future is and has been impacted by public transportation. I have seen firsthand the congested scramble to climb aboard, the delays due to car traffic blocking the road, the roundabout paths, and it is clear, when the bus system is not prioritized, people are not prioritized. Many times I've been waiting for the bus to go to work or school, waiting for 20 minutes or more, and then when you finally see a bus, it says not in service, and then I miss my meeting and I'm late for school. I used to work at McDonald's on the night shift, 5 p.m. to 2 a.m., and every time I left work, it was very hard to find a bus. I'd be standing there for 40 minutes to an hour, unsure of when the next bus would show up. I didn't have the money for a cab, so I had no choice but to just stand there. At this time, it's 3 a.m., and it's dangerous to be standing alone at night. Buses need to remember the riders of off-peak hours and provide reliable service for everyone. For these reasons and more, I am in support of the proposed Bronx Bus Network redesign. When the Bronx community has access to efficient transportation, we have access to the academic and professional tools we need to be engaged with the city as a whole. Thank you.
The next speaker will be Charlton D'Souza, followed by Joel Anabiela Azuma.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Charlton D'Souza, president of Passengers United. And yet again, another man was stabbed last night on the 2 train. Stabbed, died. Last week, there was 2 shootings in the subway. The subway system, guys, is not safe. And today, we are going to say at Passengers United, we are declaring an emergency. New York City subway is in a state of emergency. Right now, we need the Governor Kathy Hochul and the mayor and this chairman to demand that we have 200 state troopers in the subway. We need the NYC sheriff to help out. The NYPD is overwhelmed. We need social workers. 300 or 400 social workers now in the subway. The subway system this weekend was so bad. You know, we don't deserve this. We don't feel safe in the subway. And no matter what you guys try to do at the MTA today to spin this, we are definitely having a press conference and calling this out. And on the Bronx bus redesign, you know, I'm sure it has good intentions with that, but I'm a little skeptical about it because when you guys did the bus redesign in Staten Island, guess what happened? Y'all ended up having to add extra buses and extra runs because the plan didn't work. So all I'm saying is if you're going to do a bus redesign in a borough, talk to the community members because sometimes other organizations will come in a community, take over the voice of the people, and that's not fair to them. And also, the subways are filthy, dirty. We need clean trains. In terms of the fare capping with Omni, I'm proud that you're doing that, but we need those unlimited cards for the Omni. And also with the UBS Arena, the Q2 and the Q110 bus in Queens Village has been a mess. Buses are missing. Thousands of people are coming out. I took videos. It is not safe for the Q2 or the Q110 to enter the arena with thousands of people exiting. Thank you.
The next speaker is Joel Anabila Azuma, followed by Deborah Creighton.
Morning. I am thankful that the MTA and the City of New York have come to agreement with regards to funding the operations of the SIM 23 and 24 in Staten Island. This has been a more than 20-year process in which it started out in May 2001 with the private sector providing 2 buses, 2 routes, and the public sector providing 2 routes, and then the MTA showing up with 1 route, which was the X22, and a short turn of the X22 as the X21. So since we've gotten to this point and it's taken so long, I think it's very important that the next phase of the 23 and 24 be done properly. And that is to recognize that the current schedule that the EDC has approved is inadequate for public transit service. The MTA has no express buses in its system which feature an hour gap between buses in rush hour. That means that the 23 and 24 should not have a 1-hour gap during rush hour at any point in its schedule. The first and last buses of the day are an hour offset from the core buses. Each route would require 2 additional buses to infill those schedules to make them every half an hour. We can find 4 express buses on Staten Island, especially with the city backstopping those costs. You can, for example, suspend the operations of the 4X and 8X temporarily for 6 months until you have enough drivers to run the whole system, because you can't have a core service and then a gourmet level of service on Richmond Avenue and then have a shortage on the rest of the South Shore. You have the opportunity to do this right, but let's do it right from the beginning. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Deborah Creighton, followed by George Coffer.
Good morning. My name is Deborah Creighton. I use Accessoride. I'm here regarding Accessoride changing my trips to broker services despite my account and disability requiring a paratransit vehicle with a lift. Since August, my trips have been transferred to broker services, which is a shared ride service in a car. I physically can't use broker services. This is now my travel process. I book my trip via the app, I screenshot my trips, I check my trips after 7:30 p.m. once they've been confirmed, and if my trips have been changed to broker services, and 99% of the time they have been, I am forced to call Accessoride after 8 p.m. to request my trip be switched back to a blue and white vehicle. The calls last an average of 30 to 45 minutes, with some lasting as long as 90 minutes. I am on hold until an agent picks up, then I am put on hold again until the agent speaks with a supervisor. I am then told the trip will be rebooked and to call back in 30 to 45 minutes for the new time. I never get my originally booked time. The new pickup times are always at least an hour after my original pickup time. The return trip can only be booked after the outbound trip has been completed. Again, there is no guarantee I will get my original time. If my original return is for 6 p.m., my new time will be after 9 p.m., which means I end up having to cancel my trips. I take great care when booking my trips. I have had to cancel numerous doctor appointments and volunteer work because of this process. I have absolutely no control over my own schedule. I cannot live like this. I spend more time on the phone with Accessoride than with friends and family. Accessoride says to file a complaint. I filed at least 6 complaints and nothing has changed. I no longer get responses to my complaints. I don't doubt that there's a correlation between a 373% month-to-month increase in complaints and a 114% year-on-year increase as a result of the policies. Please help me. Thank you very much.
The next speaker will be George Coffer, followed by Omar Vera.
Morning, everyone. My name is George Kalfer, and I'd like to speak mostly about the Sim 23 and 24, and if I have a bit of time, about the Bronx redesign. So there's a couple of false statements written in this committee meeting, in the document. So the first is that the Outer Ridge Park and Ride is only accessible by car, and you guys assume that, you know, the people who drive to the Park and Ride can just drive somewhere else. But that's not true. There's a gate over by Pleasant Plains Avenue and South Service Road that is open for pedestrians. That was an issue. It was sometimes locked early when the 22A was running. But right now with the Sim 24, it's open 24/7. It's pedestrian accessible, and all the riders I've spoken to so far, they say that they access it through the gate. They live in that immediate adjacent area, so that's just not true. The other thing is, it says that there's 2 riders a day, but you know, I've been there after that office is closed, and there's 8 to 10 cars in the parking lot. So if they're not the cars of the people who work in the office, then those have to be the cars of the Sim 24 riders, which means you have 8 to 10 riders at least, plus the walk-in riders. The next thing is Poilon Avenue. Poilon Avenue, the reason it was installed to begin with is because there's no sidewalk connectivity in either direction. It's like that. There's a few blocks of connectivity, but you know, you can't get to Luton Avenue because it's too dangerous to walk. There's no sidewalk, and you can't get to Barclay Avenue because it's too dangerous to walk. And actually, if you look on Google Maps, it says, you know, yeah, it's true. By the road, it's 0.4 miles, but 0.4 miles. But if you go, it says 2.5 miles because it doesn't let you walk down Holland Boulevard because it knows it's too dangerous to walk down Holland Boulevard. So, and it says 4 riders per trip, but, you know, one guy, he says he takes the 7 a.m. trip, and it's him and 3 other riders right away, plus whoever takes all the other trips, so 4 riders sounds like an underestimate. Finally, for the Bronx redesign, real quick, I had a quick proposal about the 10, the 24, the 10, the 28, and the 34, and it would resolve the issues on the 34 and the 28, but it was just kind of brushed off. If you guys can follow up with me, that would be greatly appreciated. I have some written comments I'm going to submit. Thank you very much.
The next speaker will be Omar Vera, followed by Jackie Cohen.
Good morning, MTA Board's Transit Committee. Welcome. I have my main speech is going to be on how the Omni rollout is going, because I cannot wait till we start getting the Omni vending machines, because we need them now. I just want to see, because I'm waiting to see when Omni will be available for unlimited rides. Because, you know, we all know the MetroCard isn't going to be around forever, but I just want to have the experience of using an Omni card for an unlimited ride. All right. With that said, that's all I have to say for this month. So take care and happy holidays.
The final speaker will be Jackie Cohen.
Good morning. My name is Jackie Cohen. Excuse me, sorry. And I'm the Director of Climate and Equity Policy for Tri-State Transportation Campaign. I'm here to express our support for the final plan of the Bronx Bus Network redesign. Bus riders want faster, more reliable service, which will be achieved through the redesign by simplifying routes, adding all-day frequency along major corridors, and reducing excessive number of bus stops. Additionally, working alongside the city's DOT, the MTA has implemented bus priority improvements, including dedicated bus lanes and busways, at a record pace throughout the 5 boroughs. These are the changes that commuters and transit advocates have asked for years, and we commend the MTA for committing to move the agency in the right direction. Once the redesign is implemented, hundreds of thousands of daily bus riders in the Bronx will have faster, more efficient access to jobs, schools, doctors' offices, and many other critical services. The city's bus network has not had an overhaul of this scale in over half a century. Since then, the city has grown and changed significantly, so we must have a mass transit system that reflects the needs of today's riders. The simple truth of the matter is that buses need to provide rapid service if we are to make service transit a realistic commuting alternative. There will be no undoing of the Tale of Two Cities if citywide bus service does not receive the same upgrades included in the Bronx Bus Network redesign. So we look forward to seeing this plan implemented and working with the MTA on redesigning the next boroughs as well. Thank you.
Chair, that concludes the public speakers.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you to all the speakers. Now I will make a motion to approve the minutes for the November 2021 meeting. All right, all in favor? Great. So thank you, and I'm going to turn it over to Craig. Craig, are there any changes in the work plan?
Yes, there are two changes. The New York City Transit and MTA Bus quarterly EEO and diversity reports will next be shared in May and will incorporate new census data. There will be an MTA-wide EEO report shared later today at the Diversity Committee. Second, the annual review of the Transit and Bus Committee charter was moved from November to this month. The Corporate Governance Committee met in November and made updates to the charter, which is in this month's committee book for your information.
All right, so thank you, and can you please start off with the President's report?
Thank you, Chair. As you know, I like to start our committee meetings with ridership numbers. I am excited to report we hit another pandemic high on subway ridership on Thursday with 3.427 million riders, up 2% from the prior week, surpassing our previous high on November 18th by 17,000 more riders. Bus ridership last week remained steady at 1.4 million, as did paratransit at 22,000 daily riders. Since we are closing out 2021, I thought it would be interesting to contrast that just a year ago, weekday average subway and bus ridership combined was at 2.6 million riders, just 32.5% average pre-pandemic. We have surely come a long way, but there's still a lot more work to be done. There is no doubt we are coming back. The city is coming back, and I am proud to say this comeback is fueled by the strong service we are providing. Subway service, which is stronger than pre-pandemic, and despite our current crew shortages, continues to trend in the positive direction. I will be presenting in a moment this promising trend made possible by the hard work and focus of the Subway's team, and supported with the guidance and leadership by our acting chair and CEO, Jana Lieber. Demetrius will be providing more detail, but our November subway results are positive overall. Once again, for the third month in a row, weekday service delivered was up from the prior month, which had positive impacts on our on-time performance and customer journey time. Again, we are achieving these results with the same amount of crews and growing riders. All of the New York City Transit teams remain laser-focused on continuing to improve performance for both bus and paratransit. Later, we will ask this committee to approve the Bronx Bus Network redesign. This is just one of the strategies I identified last month that will help us improve service performance. I'm also pleased to report that we will extend the e-hail program as is into 2022. Once we have a new vice president for paratransit on board, that person will have an opportunity and the responsibility to evaluate the program and make recommendations on the best step forward for the program. Our transit team accomplished a lot this year, and I want to start by giving credit to Sarah Feinberg, who led us into 2021. We needed to bring back ridership by prioritizing safety and security in our system. We delivered cameras in every station in record time and provided additional security resources in and around our system. We worked closely with the city to ensure that the 311 service applies underground, helping us to address issues as they come up much more quickly. We continue to work closely with the NYPD to focus on the safety of our riders, which remains a top priority as we look ahead into 2022. And I look forward to continuing these priorities in collaboration with the new mayor and his administration. In 2021, we rolled out new R211 subway fleet, and we began testing New York City Transit's first open gangway cars. Under the direction of the chairman, we refocused our efforts on speed, and the results are speaking for themselves. We've made speed improvements at 773 locations, including 305 civil speed upgrades and 468 grade timer corrections. And I'm also proud of our initiative on the AutoGate, allowing our customers to pay at the gate to enter the system and thereby improving access for those who need it. We work closely with stations on signage, security measures, gate collaboration, and AFC reader maintenance to be ready for this initiative. Paid usage has steadily increased, and as of last week, weekday usage was about 3,400 a day. QML will have more to say on this program later in the agenda. Furthermore, our bus team worked diligently to improve the bus experience with wider ramps and doors on all new buses and additional flip seats. We expanded our camera use on buses to help enforce bus stop blocking and double parking in bus lanes, and we have set aggressive goals along with our partners in New York City DOT for 2022. On paratransit, we are acknowledging our challenges with the broker program, but as Frank will report, we are seeing positive signs and are cautiously optimistic service performance is turning the corner. And let's not forget, we did all this while managing a pandemic and making every effort to get our workforce tested, vaccinated, and ready for duty. At our October meeting, we promised to review the metrics we deliver to you in the community materials each month. Before we get into that presentation and discussion, I just want to pause here to see if you had any questions.
Chairman Schwartz.
Yeah.
Or
What?
Board Member Schwartz. I got to get this right, Larry. I'm new at this.
Listen,
I
I've been called many things in my career, so call me whatever you want.
All right, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Craig, thank you very much for the updates, and kudos to Sarah and the whole New York City Transit staff and team for everything that you guys are doing to improve the system and get people back to ride. I also think it's important that, we always give credit where credit's due, and I just want to give a shout out to our former acting chair of New York City Transit, Sarah Feinberg. Sarah was instrumental, I believe, in getting cameras installed in our subway stations. It's something that I've been advocating for a long time as a member of this board. But Sarah actually went ahead and found the money and executed getting a lot more cameras, working with Patrick Warren to get them installed. And, she's been a big advocate and voice just in overall safety of our passengers, and that's important if we're going to bring ridership back. It's on a whole host of areas that we have to make sure that our passengers feel safe and comfortable in the stations, and she's been a big advocate of improving and increasing safety in our stations, and she was working with Patrick and other members of the team. So I just want to make sure I give her a shout out and credit for her efforts while she served as acting president of New York City Transit. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right.
Okay, so we have a presentation prepared on subway performance and metric. As we have been discussing all fall, Acting Chairman and CEO Jan Oleba has been a driving force to ensure we have been laser focused on service performance in the face of our crew shortage challenges, so that we are here to welcome back our customers to the system. And I am proud to say that November's service performance has remained strong. As our city and transit system faces unprecedented times, we've had to overcome these unique challenges. And so we feel it's important to understand how we're doing in this context of historical performance. To do this, we have prepared an explanation of our customer-focused service metrics and how they help us and our customers understand just how our subway system is performing. To begin, all of our metrics and baseline service are based on schedules that are publicly available on the MTA and other third-party sites. Schedules do vary by line and time of day based upon the level of service we provide and operating conditions. Schedules also account for expected changes like planned work. They are reviewed and updated biannually. In fact, we have and continue to review schedules with the goal of maximizing our existing crews. All our performance metrics measure against those schedules. This chart of Subway's on-time performance, one of our legacy metrics, used for many years, shows that prior to the Subway Action Plan in 2017, the system had been declining. This decline, as measured by this indicator, led to the system-wide Subway Action Plan investment. At that time, there was much discussion about how best to measure the benefits of these investments. In line with the Subway Action Plan investment, new metrics were proposed and adopted by the board to measure and monitor performance in a more customer-focused way. These metrics were established and also praised by national and industry global benchmarking groups. Besides these new metrics, which I will be discussing in more detail in the coming slides, we still use on-time performance for historical comparison because it's our longest-running metric. As you can see, on-time performance continues to trend above pre-pandemic levels. The current customer-focused metrics established in 2017 and that we report on monthly show performance from the customer's point of view. Major incidents, service delivered, and customer journey time performance. On the subsequent slides, we compare fall 2017 performance for context prior to the Subway Action Plan investments to fall 2019 performance just before the pandemic to recent fall 21 trends, discounting 2020 performance that were impacted by COVID. Here we see major incidents, which shows our ability to reduce incidents and restore service quickly to the operating schedule. 50-plus trains is a delay threshold established for reporting on major delays. As you can see, current major delay-causing incidents are down by approximately 50% since 2017 and just below 2019 levels. But what I really want to stress here is that the internal causes of major delays, ones that we have direct control of, are down 50% and 25% respectively from 2017 and 2019. And in November, major incidents attributed to external causes, such as persons on the roadbed, were 40% of all incidents. We look forward to working closely with our partners at NYPD and the incoming administration to mitigate this concerning issue. In addition, our chairman has recently established an agency-wide task force to focus on this growing and troubling challenge. Another piece of good news, though, is that Demetrius will speak to soon, is that we've also reduced the average major incident duration to get the trains moving sooner, which is the result of extra attention on incident management and mitigating impacts when these incidents do occur. Service delivered measures the amount of service we are providing against the schedule. The metric worsened in 2021 due to pandemic-related crew shortages and attrition. The improving trend shows the impact of effective crewing strategies, making the most of our resources we have available. If we hadn't acted, we project service delivered would have been continued to decline into the low 80th percentile, as shown in yellow, rather than 92% we show here today. It is important to note that we have been able to do this without any graduating classes of train operators, as while their training has been streamlined, training still does take approximately 6 to 7 months. We are continuing our crewing efforts and plan to be at pre-pandemic service delivered levels in the first half of 2022. Earlier we showed on-time performance, which is an operational metric we use for historical comparison. This metric shown here, customer journey time performance, is the more sophisticated version of on-time performance, as it measures the percentage of customers whose individual trips, not the train itself, are within 5 minutes of schedule. It is a composite measure of additional platform time, or customer wait time on the platform, and additional train time, customers' time on board the train. We know that crew shortages have affected customer journey time, but again, our work to mitigate crew issues and speed up trains has caused customer journey time to be up about 4 points from 2017, and the trend is heading in the right direction. This improvement is born most notably from the hard work to make trains faster, including the work we just spoke of via the speed team. The key to consistent, reliable service is reducing train delays. As you can see, delays are down 51% from 2017 and below fall of 2019. Controllable delays have improved by 60% for several reasons. First, we have fewer mechanical failures due to the investments in our system. Crew availability delays peaked this summer, but our crewing strategies are bringing delays down quickly. And we've also significantly reduced delays due to operating environment and planned work, again due in part of the work of the speed team. Meanwhile, we've recently seen upticks in external delays such as unruly persons, persons on the roadbed, and other public conduct. External delays now cause 22% of all delays compared to just 13% in 2017. And this is why we need to focus on this along with our city partners. In subways, we still use legacy metrics because they can be benchmarked against historical trends and transit agencies worldwide. I'll discuss two of them here briefly. First, as we've already discussed, terminal on-time performance shows our ability to run trips end-to-end on time against the schedule. As you see, our on-time performance is well above 2017 performance and above 2019 and trending in the positive direction. And we're optimistic we'll continue to see improvements as we continue to aggressively hire and train more crews to run service. Sure.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
As you have adjusted the speeds of various lines, have you also adjusted the terminal on-time performance metrics, or did they stay the same?
So the on-time performance metrics are measured against the schedule. What Judy and her team are working on is adjusting the schedules based upon speed improvements. So it's a cascading effect.
I see. And that's an ongoing thing now?
That's an ongoing process.
Thank you.
Mean distance between failure measures the mechanical reliability of our car fleet. It's defined as the number of revenue car miles divided by the number of delayed incidents attributed to car-related causes. MDBF has made significant strides this year, with November's result a 26% increase from both 2017 and 2019, attributed not just to a newer fleet, but also more investment in car maintenance and overhaul. This has a direct positive effect on service and our customers' experience. And lastly, Subways actively uses performance data to manage operations and improve service quality. We review this data daily and make it available to all our Subways teams. Additionally, more granular data than what we discussed here today is made publicly available at dashboard.mta.info and in the monthly TA committee book. Data is available back to 2015, with many of these metrics were first calculated using current methodologies. And in closing, I just want to say how proud I am of the Subways, bus, and paratransit teams, and appreciate the continued support of this board as we focus on our continued improvement of our transit system to welcome our customers back.
Thank you, Craig. Any questions? Bob?
So, Craig, thanks very much for this tutorial, I think, as we talked about. Is that report in our book?
This particular
Yes.
report? No, the presentation is not, but all the metrics are
Okay, so I'm
available.
wondering whether that presentation could be sent to us also, because I think it's very interesting.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to study it at more length.
Sure.
Could you put back on that first graph where you showed the spiraling down of service that led to the subway action plan? Do you remember what I'm talking about? Is it with the first? No, this is the line graph in the very beginning.
Right. Is someone else controlling it? Oh, here it is. Okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
So, I guess that's. I mean, so you clearly see the reason for the subway action plan there, and the tremendous success that was made. You then see a rather scary slope down in the last, was it year and a half, and then starting with your arrival, and it looks like it starts trending back up. But it does suggest that we really were on a very dangerous path for a period of time, and the need to really for tremendous vigilance at this point to make sure that we don't keep going down along that line.
Yeah. So I think what you're seeing there, again, is really that it's all connected back with crew shortages. And I think, we were in a long period during the pandemic of a hiring freeze. And while the hiring freeze was underway, we still had attrition. So we were still losing conductors, train operators, and it all is a direct correlation. I think what you see there is while we've done a tremendous amount of onboarding, it's really the crewing strategies and all the other strategies that we've taken to maximize our existing crews with vacation buyback, accelerating training, and other things to help that situation. So that's where you start to see the uptick, where we've been getting better at getting our crews out there, and consequently you see an impact on not only on-time performance, but customer journey time and the other metrics.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? All right.
Just want to close it out.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So before we get to Demetrius, I just want to take this opportunity to talk directly to the entire NYCT and MTA bus team to extend my personal and sincere appreciation for your hard work throughout the year. You work with discipline and determination through snowstorms, icy conditions, hurricanes, floods, heat waves, and the pandemic. You continue to inspire and impress me with your dedication and willingness to meet every challenge. And I would like to offer my best wishes and happiness to you and your families this holiday season, and I look forward to an even better 2022. I am proud to be your NYCT president, a responsibility and honor I do not take for granted. And a happy and healthy holiday to members of this committee. Thank you for your continued support.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you for your support, and thank you for your team as well. And now I want to turn it over to Demetrius, who will discuss subways.
Thank you, Victor, and good morning. I'm pleased to report that Subway's performance continues to be strong in November, especially when looking at delays within our control. Weekday on-time performance was 83.4%. This is 0.1% better than October of 2021 and 1.6% better than November of 2019. Major incidents increased to 35 from 26 last month, but only one more than 2 years ago. Notably, 14 or 40% of this month's major incidents were due to persons on the roadbed and other police and medical incidents. This included several unfortunate incidents, such as a fatality on the Manhattan Bridge that required suspending service on 4 lines, a second non-MTA related incident which occurred just below the Manhattan Bridge as well. This affected, again, 4 lines, impacting greater than 325 trains, as well as an incident involving an unauthorized person on the 7 line that required suspending service to and from Flushing for much of the morning rush hour, in all cases to accommodate police investigations. We look forward to working with the NYPD and the new city administration to address these types of incidents. On a more positive note, the average major incident duration decreased 3%, and average major incident delays decreased 30%. This reflects improvements in incident management to get normal service running faster when an incident does occur. Our customer-focused metrics show strong results compared to pre-pandemic performance. Travel times continue to be faster than they were in 2019, so even though waits for trains are slightly longer, the net effect is that customers are arriving at destinations faster. When compared to November of 2019, there was an 18-second increase in additional platform time, which was more than offset by a 37-second lower additional train time. In addition, peak running times improved on every line from pre-pandemic levels, including significant improvements on the 4, 6, and G lines, which are each more than 4% faster than November of 2019. I'm especially pleased to report a reduction in delays caused by crew availability. As promised, we have improved coverage while we hire and train new crews, and we continue to reap the rewards of the initiatives to maximize the utilization of our existing workforce. So far in 2021, we've placed over 300 train operators and 300 conductors in training, with more planned in December and into 2022. Our training teams are working hard to ensure these new crew members are well prepared to provide safe, reliable service as they graduate and begin operating trains. We've already reduced crew availability delays by 38% from almost 17,000 delays just 3 months ago to roughly 10,000 this month. We look forward to being back at pre-pandemic crew staffing levels by mid-2022. I'm extremely proud of everything the Subways team has accomplished throughout this very challenging year. As we move to close out an amazing year, rolling into the holiday season, to an incredible team and the customers we serve, I wish you health, happiness, and the love of those whom you hold dear. This concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Demetrius. Any questions? All right, no questions. So let's go to Frank on an update for buses and paratransit.
Thank you, Victor. Good morning. Overall bus performance has improved since last month, despite the significant challenges posed by increasing traffic and construction, coupled with ongoing operator vacancies. One thing remains clear: well-enforced bus priority is the most effective way to increase bus speeds and improve travel times for our customers. We continue to be laser-focused on bus priority projects and onboarding new operators. This year, we made an aggressive effort to hire 1,300 bus operators in our efforts to return back to pre-pandemic vacancy levels. Also in August, alongside our partners at New York City DOT, we announced an ambitious plan to speed up buses and improve service. The strategy builds upon several previous achievements, including some big strides made in 2021. Craig and DOT Commissioner Hank Gutman will provide a presentation on our bus strategy at the board meeting this month. I also want to give you a quick update on our Nova hybrid bus fleet. The necessary software fixes continue to be implemented, and we anticipate this fleet will be fully back in service by January. This month, we will be requesting board approval for the federally funded purchase of 135 low-floor 40-foot diesel buses. These buses are needed for the replacement of 2007 Orion standard buses for MTA Bus Company, local service, that are well beyond their 12-year useful life. It is important to note that progressively more stringent EPA standards have reduced particulate matter and NOx levels for these buses down to negligible levels. These buses will be delivered with model year 2021 compliant EPA engines, which are up to 13% more fuel efficient. Lou Montanti will brief you on the details of this procurement and action later this morning. As you know, we have a robust 2020 to 24 capital program with over 2,400 buses, 40% which are alternate fuel, including 500 all-electric, 368 compressed natural gas, and 210 advanced hybrid electric propulsion. We are committed to 100% zero-emissions fleet by 2040 and expect to start buying only zero-emissions buses starting in 2028. As the holidays are upon us and the year comes to an end, we are heartened by all we have accomplished this year while we continue to face many challenges in 2022. It will be a banner year for buses as we implement an ambitious plan to bring more New Yorkers back to the system. This concludes the bus report.
Thank you, Frank. Any questions for Frank on the bus report? Frank, and go ahead, Andrew.
Morning.
Not on. Now it's on. I have noticed in the past month that there are some bus vehicles that do not show up on bus time. So I guess the transmitter is not working or something to that effect. Are you checking those kinds of issues?
Yes, we have a staff that monitors it, but I'll have them take a deeper look. If you have any specific details, you could always send them to me.
You'll see on the countdown clocks on a bus stop, 12 minutes for, and I'll use hypothetical, an M7, and yet one will show up, and it's not on bus time, and it's not on the countdown clock.
Okay. So you're actually having buses show up that are not shown?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Andrew.
And Frank, it's safe to say that those new buses are 100% accessible?
100%, yes.
I know that.
With all the latest.
All the work we're doing, we just want to make sure everyone understands that.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely.
And Frank, you want to continue with the paratransit report?
I do, thanks. So paratransit ridership, which returned faster than all our other agencies during the pandemic, remains at approximately 80% of pre-pandemic levels. We continue to contend with increased traffic volumes and construction across the city, combined with industry-wide driver shortage that have posed a challenge at the national and local levels. We recognize the significant impact these issues have on our service performance and our customers, and we will continue to work with our brokers and carriers daily to implement innovative solutions to deliver the level of service our customers deserve. As a result of recent primary carrier hiring campaigns, there has been an uptick in drivers. Vacancy rates are down to 16% from the summer high of 22%. We saw some incremental improvements in performance between September and October, with primary carrier no-show rates decreasing from 6.6 to 4.68 per 1,000 scheduled trips. Broker no-show rates improving slightly, and primary carrier on-time performance up slightly also. Recognizing our immediate challenges, we are implementing action plans to address service issues and have declared an immediate operating need to quickly enact contractual initiatives designed to improve service. We are also working closely with our new brokers to help mentor and train them so they could ramp up service even faster. We will leave no stone unturned to address these service performance issues. In some good news, in November, we saw our highest ever usage of My AAR trip planner on the My MTA app. We continue to encourage our customers to book their trips through these platforms. This month, we notified our eHail pilot subscribers that we will be extending the pilot in its current format as we continue to evaluate the future of the eHail program. In addition, we are seeking board approval to award 3 5-year service contracts for eligibility assessment services. These contracts provide an independent eligibility assessment of an applicant's disability and how it may or may not prevent their use of the fixed route transportation. With these new contracts, assessment centers will be located in Staten Island, Brooklyn, and Queens, and the Bronx. While we are unable to award a contract for an assessment center in Manhattan, we will continue our efforts to secure a Manhattan location. Also, it should be noted that we provide transportation for applicants across all 5 boroughs to and from assessment centers. And over 45% of our registrants have continual full eligibility, meaning that these customers do not need to be recertified through our assessment centers. Instead, they complete a form once every 5 years to update their information. These are customers whose disability is permanent and will not likely improve. The vast majority of our remaining customers only need to be recertified every 5 years. Lou Montanti will brief you on this procurement action later this morning. Now, as the year ends, I want to take a moment to thank my colleagues and this committee for their continued and invaluable support of our bus and paratransit operations. And most of all, I want to recognize and thank my heroic bus and paratransit teams who have worked tirelessly through this year and the pandemic to improve service under unprecedented circumstances. Thank you for the amazing work you continue to do every single day. Happy holidays, everyone, and that concludes the paratransit report.
Thank you, Frank. Any questions? So it just leaves me, Frank. It's you and me. Let's do the dance.
Sir.
All right, Frank. So I know drivers are going up, right? Especially in the blue and whites on the dedicated side. So that's good. I know incentives are going out. I know Sarah showed me that we're going to be doing some more outreach and putting some ads out to try to get more people. I encourage all of that, and I think that's great. I am concerned, especially from the woman that spoke a little bit earlier, and how she has to book rides. She's told one thing, she gets another thing, and she has to cancel things, and she spends more time on the phone with Accessoride than her family, right? That's concerning to me because I see it happening. I see it happening in my office every day when people have dedicated service and it doesn't show up. So I see it as being a real problem, and I know the community at large has certainly been on top of all of us. And I know one thing's for sure, that the staff at paratransit is working really hard at making things work with the resources that they have. So I commend them on what they're doing and trying to piece this all together. But you did mention declare an immediate operating need to quickly enact contractual initiatives designed to improve service. Can you explain that a little bit to me?
Absolutely.
Because I'm not aware, and if I'm not aware, I'm sure others aren't.
So thank you for that. So recognizing, and it's not only the paratransit staff, but it's all the transit staff backing them. We recognize the struggles, right? And, with the struggles we face with, the industry shortages and the traffic, but certainly the performance that we're providing is not at levels that we would like or, the customers deserve, right? So an immediate operating need allows us to enact quick, effective actions within, like contracts in order to mitigate or implement things quickly, right? Without going through, the normal longer chains, right? Certainly we still do that. Our due process is important, right? And be responsible, but now we're able to, and which we are, we're working through contractual contracts now to make some changes to make us the preferred customer for our customers.
And that's in the broker side, right?
That is
because that's where we have a lot of problems.
That is focused on the broker side, right? We're not leaving any stone unturned, right? As Sarah's been also helping us with recruitment, advertising. That's very important. That helps us with the mostly on the primary side, right? But also we're actively working with our new vendors, right? And we're mentoring them. We're focused with them so they could ramp up quicker, right? So we're working with them. We're implementing some contractual changes immediately to help expand our pool. And improve performance, right? And, overall, expand our capacity. We're looking for other ways and other methods to expand our capacity. We're thinking outside the box every which way possible.
All right. Yeah, the more we can convey that to the community and get the ultimate thing is to get them from point A to point B.
Absolutely.
And not spend a lot of time on the phone, because I see it happening, and it's pretty tough. And that's what brings me to the AAR trip planner and the app. Is that working? You said it's the highest number of users and what would be stopping people from not using it?
Well, I think it's just a matter of, more exposure, more putting the word out there, the advertising it, letting them know really how effective it is, and, how simple it really is to use. So we'll continue those campaigns.
Yeah, let's do some more social media on that, Sarah. Any way you can help out with that, that'd be great. And then maybe we can also send some emails to the paratransit customers as well. And I'd like to see people spending less time on the phone. So the eHealth pilot program, I see you extended it. I like thinking about what's going to happen next on all of that. So I know you guys are thinking some stuff, and it's still working through that. Any way that I can be of assistance. We know it's something that the community absolutely likes. We'd like to see it expanded, and we'd like to see it done thoughtfully. And Craig, I know you mentioned that there'll be possibly a new paratransit person, and I hope that actually starts soon. So hopefully you'll be able to give us an update, if not soon, maybe by next year. So that'd be really helpful, because I really want to take out a look at Access-a-Ride and think about how we can do it differently and really be able to improve the quality of ridership, just like we're doing in buses, because we need to be able to make sure that people with disabilities are included in everything the MTA and not a second afterthought. I know I said that before. I'm going to keep saying it until we get it 100% right, as long as I'm around. And then I also noticed you talked about the assessment centers were in here. Yeah, eligibility assessment centers. I like the fact that some people don't have to be recertified because they have a disability. How do we do more outreach within the system that we have now to look at, to make sure people don't have to go back, because it is burdensome?
So folks that are at full eligibility, when they come in they have to come in 5 years for the assessment. When they come in for their next assessment which would be the 10th year, at that point, they're eligible for continued full eligibility. So,
So it's an immediate assessment and then 2 5-year assessments?
Right, and after the second 5th-year assessment, they can apply and be granted continual full.
Maybe it's a way we can look at that maybe after the first 5-year assessment, just to see, maybe. I mean, if people have a permanent disability, specifically like I have, is a spinal cord injury, and the chances of walking are slim to none. So I just want to make sure things that we can identify, and I'm pretty sure you do have a list. I'm not going to get into that list now. I just want to, I think maybe 2 5-year terms are a little tough.
Sure, we could take a look at it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned that there wasn't going to be one in Manhattan, right?
Not yet. We're going to still continue the search.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think the service isn't good. We know it. I know you all working hard. But we certainly, people with disabilities aren't disabled, only their environments are. And right now, our environment in Access-a-Ride is disabling us. So we really need to really think more on that. And any way that I can help, please let me know. And any way we can lean on our paratransit advisory committee or our transit advisory committee, ACTA, to be able to give us some ideas. I think everything should be on the table to work on improving. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to extend that to the 60 plus population the 65 plus population that Access-a-Ride also serves in great numbers. So thank you always, Victor, for your advocacy. But I want to make sure that we look at these issues also for older adults, which are facing the same challenges. And I would have you reconsider the the 10-year, the every 5-year reapplication, particularly for older adults. That gets a little more cumbersome and more challenging for them as time goes on. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine. Anyone else? All right. So, Quamel, thank you, Frank. Thank you for everything. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for your support.
And Quamel, can you give us a report on accessibility?
Sure thing. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last month, we shared that accessible entry gates, auto gates, at subway stations are now available to all customers who need them. As we activated the AutoGate Omni validators in the beginning of November, we also made the AutoGate available to MetroCard users who needed access through the gates to provide a consistent customer experience that improves accessibility. We initiated this change in November to gather data on the use and customer response, and to ensure all hardware and software worked as intended before making the change permanent. Throughout the month of November, we saw several thousand customers using our AutoGate systems-wide each day, more than 1,000 daily uses of both MetroCard and Omni. Each day, thousands of customers who previously needed assistance from station staff or other customers to enter the station are now able to seamlessly and independently pay their fare and enter stations through the AutoGates. We're happy to keep the gates open for all, and will continue to monitor customer behaviors at the gates as we continue to reimagine an effective and universal accessible fare array. In other expanded subway access news, we are already seeing positive results from zoning for accessibility, ZFA, which was approved by the City Council earlier this fall. In November, the City Planning Commission unanimously approved a developer to make the 57th Street line, F line in Manhattan fully accessible, with the installation of street and platform elevators, among other improvements to the stations. This is the first transit improvement bonus under ZFA, and there are already more projects in the pipeline, including in the outer boroughs. Zoning for accessibility improvements all come in addition to the MTA's capital plan investments, helping us achieve our system-wide accessibility goals more quickly than we could through MTA investments alone. Lastly, some of you may have read news articles over the weekend about an enhanced financing and management system of how we contract ADA work and maintenance at the MTA. I hope you all share my enthusiasm as we grow our partnership with the private sector to deliver better, faster, and more responsive and efficient accessible service to all our clients. I'm excited for a board meeting on Wednesday in which we will be bringing the largest number of procurement items for ADA project the board has ever seen. The accessibility train is in motion, full speed ahead with this new leadership team. We will continue to enhance accessibility in all our services, paratransit included, and I look forward to coming back to this group to report these changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Quamel. Any questions? Go ahead, Bob.
I have to leave my mask on. Where you have these auto gates, let's say at Penn Station on the 2-3, that is meant also for people with bags when they get off a train. Would that work for that as well?
Yes, Commissioner Lynn. The idea around the auto gates is the auto gates are an accessible point of entry for any customer who cannot move through the turnstile. So whatever need you may have that precludes you from moving through the turnstile, that gives you access to use the auto gate.
So at Penn Station yesterday, where it was very, very crowded, people coming off trains, I noticed a lot of people, and I was one of them, who didn't understand how to do this, and were using pushing their bags underneath the turnstile in a very difficult way. And I'm wondering whether or not, especially on heavy traffic times, you ought to have someone at the auto gates explaining to people how do they use it, because I saw people were not availing themselves of it, and I think it would be very useful to let people know how to use it and to assist them with it.
Thank you for the comment and the feedback. As you all know, and this group, HADA talks a lot about safety, and this is the challenges that we're juggling, right? We want to make everyone aware of these changes and these enhancements that are available to them. However, we are also monitoring for fare evasion, and as you all know, exiting through that gate caused the most number of fare evasions. So we want to provide the service for those who need it while not expanding the ability for people to, fare evade. We have not seen any impact on fare evasion through the auto gate changes, but, I'll talk to Sarah and the team, Pat, Warren, and see what we could do to educate our customers about the ability of making use of the auto gate.
Perhaps is even more reason to have some some personnel, perhaps non-uniform personnel, there who's both explaining and watching.
Commissioner Schwartz.
Commissioner Cleese. Yeah, Commissioner Lynn, you make good points. I think, though, the long-term solution, and I appreciate what they're doing to try to provide greater accessibility, but the solution to address the problem, whether it's carry-on luggage, shopping carts, baby strollers, wheelchairs, and on and on and on, is eliminating all these turnstile gates in our subway system and go to an accessible gate model that you see now all over the country, not just in subways, but in airports, because it just opening it up and just getting through, that's going to solve a lot of the accessible problems that exist today, and also is going to address the need for keeping a gate open, and will also, I think, in part, not solve, but in part address the fare evasion problem that we're dealing in our subway system. And I think that's the long-term strategy that has to happen sooner rather than later as part of the transformation of the system.
Well, thank you, Bob. Thank you, Larry. I appreciate that. Anyone else want to get on the accessibility train? Come on, ask some questions. I'm all aboard. Quamel, thank you for that update. I wanted to ask you something on the, you talked about people were using Metro cards to get through, because that's what I generally do. And you mentioned Omni. So I know the conversion now is open Omni, but it's only open Omni for a select few people with disabilities, right? I mean, as far as half fare is concerned. When do we plan on opening that up for all people with disabilities and half fare to really drive that through, right? Because the people are eligible for it, and they do go through the process. And you know, when do you think that's going to happen? So every half fare disabled user can go through and use their Omni card or Omni.
Commissioner, as you are aware, you are one of the 70 people who are piloting Omni for the reduced fare population and the community of persons with disabilities. We are still working on bringing on both paratransit and reduced fare population at large into the Omni environment. To be honest, we are trying to work with our provider who's helping us bring on Omni to make it available. There's some struggles in that, but our goal is to deliver the same access to all our clients, those with disabilities, those with not.
So, Quail, this is where I'm going to press upon you, you know, because you are the lead for accessibility, and I got to put you on the spot. I need you to push harder. We really got to get Omni up and running. We rolled out a system, and I'm going to say it again, without people with disabilities in it. We're backtracking. We need to, I mean, we're doing some decent strides now. We got to include it, and we can't put fair stuff together without people with disabilities involved in it. So, you know, any way I can assist on that, I need you to kind of push harder. People with disabilities want to use their half fare on the subway, tap and go. That's what Omni's there for. And I have used the pilot, and that's, you know, that's great. I commend you for putting that together, getting it through. It's working from my side when I tap. So continue to do that, and let me know how I can be able to assist you on that. And I think I am done with my questions. Anyone else? All right. So I'm going to turn it over to Sarah for an update on strategy and customer experience.
Thanks, Commissioner. So this month we launched an online reduced fare MetroCard application. It's available at reducedfare.mta.info to make it easier and quicker for city residents, commuters, and visitors to the city to qualify for reduced fare travel on subways and buses. This will reduce application processing time by 7 days. Hundreds of seniors have already completed the online application, and I want to thank the revenue and customer service teams as well as the IT teams for their work, getting those discounts to customers faster and easier. We're also working to improve customer convenience in other ways. Our Lost and Found office now offers improved shipping items for found items. It's quick and easy and saving a trip in to visit our lost and found location at the lovely Penn Station. So if you lose something in the subway, we can now ship it to you directly back to your home. Customer complaints about subway service again decreased last month to 3.51 per 100,000 journeys, down 10% versus October 2021 and 19% versus November 2020, showing the really great work Demetrius and Frank and teams have been doing to improve our service qualities. Bus complaints also decreased to 12.2, 8% lower than October. While accessoride complaints, which we all know have gotten very high, they stabilized this month, up only 1.5% versus October. And that concludes my remarks for the day. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Sarah? All right, so let's move on. Anyone online? No, okay. So let's move on to safety and security. Bobby?
All right, thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm just going to give you some highlights from the safety report. When comparing the most recent 12-month period to the previous one, subway customer accident rates increased. It's worth noting that they have decreased each monthly since March 2021. Bus collisions, customer accidents, and injuries increased when comparing the most recent 12-month period to the previous one. But again, it's worth noting that we have seen a slight decrease monthly in these collisions, accidents, and injuries. Employee lost time accidents showed a decrease when comparing the most recent 12-month period to the previous one. Although we continue to see an increase in subway fires when comparing the last 12-month period to the previous one, the measures that we've implemented with the Department of Subways to address them continue to be effective, as we have seen some decreases in the last 6 months. I would also like to wish everyone, especially our employees in safety and security, as well as through the MTA New York City Transit family, customers and board members, a very happy, healthy, and safe holiday season. I'm going to stop here and ask Chief O'Reilly to please give us the crime report, and afterwards if there's any questions. All right, Chief?
Thank you, Bobby. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll provide the following update on transit crime through the month of November, but first I'll update you about a fatal stabbing last night. Shortly after midnight, we received a report of a man who had been stabbed at the 241st Street subway station in the Bronx. While this information is preliminary, we believe that there was a dispute between the victim and another man that began on the street and escalated inside the station near the booth. The suspect stabbed the victim during the fight, and the victim succumbed to his injuries shortly thereafter. We began investigating immediately, and we'll certainly have more information as our investigators continue their work. As the committee book outlines, year-to-date crime is down about 3.5% in the subway system, with 59 fewer incidents. Felony assaults remain the only category of crime experiencing a year-to-date increase. There were 121 additional incidents reported during the month of November compared to the same month last year. This increase was driven primarily by larcenies and robberies. There were 4 felony assaults against New York City transit workers during the month, and all of the 4 suspects in those cases have been arrested and charged. Our teams have been aggressively working to curb any uptick in the past several weeks. Arrests and apprehensions show our deployment is laser focused on where these crimes are occurring. On December 9th, for example, officers with our Manhattan Task Force were patrolling the platform on the 7 line at Times Square Station when an operator of the incoming train signaled for assistance with the horn. As they responded to the conductor's position, they were directed to a man laying asleep on the seats with a large knife under his arm. They recovered the knife and a meat cleaver and took him into custody. He has been charged with 2 counts of criminal possession of a weapon. Last Wednesday, plainclothes officers spotted a suspect they recognized wanted for a robbery in the transit several days prior. During that incident, he threatened to shoot the victim and stole his neck chain. Paroled back in May of this year, after serving a sentence from a previous crime, the suspect clearly wasted no time returning to his year-long pattern of victimizing others. And while carrying a felony-level quantity of narcotics when our officers caught him, he had more than 50 prior felony arrests, 45 of which were for robbery. Also, on November 29th, our officers apprehended 2 men for a gunpoint robbery after a brief foot pursuit. The investigation is ongoing, and our transit robbery squad is investigating their possible involvement in 12 other robberies, 10 of which occurred in transit, and of 8 of which had not yet been reported. We're connecting them to these other incidents based on the property we recovered from them at the time of their initial arrest. They've each been charged in that pattern, and additional charges are forthcoming. On November 22nd, patrol officers arrested a 19-year-old man after he assaulted and injured a train conductor, striking him with an unknown object at the Euclid Avenue station in the Bronx. The defendant in that case was released on his own recognizance by the court and is expected to return on January 11th. Also, after an investigation by our Bronx Transit Squad, an 18-year-old man was arrested and charged with assaulting a subway conductor. During the November 8th incident on the 2 line in the Bronx, the male suspect fired a BB gun at the victim, striking him in the face and injuring him. Family court is currently handling the case after the suspect was charged as a juvenile delinquent. These are just a few of the examples of how we continually work against a revolving door that puts riders and MTA workers at risk, and has our officers and investigators continually working to apprehend many of the same individuals over and over again. New Yorkers don't deserve a train ride that includes fear of being a victim of an assault or theft. The very least we can do, the most common sense step, is to ensure it's not at the hands of someone who's victimized countless others with no consequences or has just been released after our officers diligently investigated, arrested, and charged them for the very same thing weeks, days, or even hours prior. Our deployment and commitment remain as strong as ever, but we continue to look to our counterparts and stakeholders to hold chronic offenders and serious criminals accountable for the crimes they commit in our subways. Unless this changes, the crisis that Commissioner Shea mentioned publicly just days ago will continue to stare every one of us in the face, regardless of what side of the turnstile you're on. That concludes my briefing, and I want to wish each member of this board and all our riders a very Merry Christmas and all the best during the holidays. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank Chief O'Reilly. All right, we got lots of questions. I think we'll go with Commissioner Albert, then Glucksman, then Lynn.
Thank you, Victor. And thank you, Chief O'Reilly, for all that your men and women and yourself and everybody associated with the NYPD is doing for us. But I am hearing from many. I ride a lot, and I see people coming through the trains that should not be on the system at all. Clearly, there's mental health issues, and there's other issues. I see riders getting scared and running out of cars to a certain degree. And I'm wondering why we can't stop these people at the turnstiles before they enter the system. I also, for a while, saw quite a few police officers on platforms and on trains, and I'm seeing less and less of them lately. So I'm wondering, is the deployment just changing, or are we not getting as many officers as we had like last month? And what are we doing to get more officers in the system, which we need to make riders feel secure and safe?
Chief, can you speak a little bit? I'm sorry, Chief, you can speak a little bit to the numbers of. That'd be great. Thank you.
So obviously the deployment still remains the same. It's a steady deployment with almost additional 1,000 officers a day into the transit system. We do try and optimize our presence on the trains and on the platforms, but also you mentioned fare evasion, catching people before they enter the system. It's a combined effort on all parts by the Transit Bureau, and we're continually trying to maximize our presence to make people feel safe and feel secure. But also we're focused on crime, and we're in the crime fighting business. And just to remind everybody on this call that crime in the Transit Bureau represents 1.7% of overall crime in the city. And that being said, there's a tremendous amount of resources being given to us in the Transit Bureau, and we're very grateful to have those resources. I know Sarah in particular was mentioned earlier. We have to thank her for her stellar diligence in trying to make sure we had that additional resources. She was a large part of the mayor and the police commissioner in dedicating those resources. But we continue to see the uptick in larcenies and robberies that I spoke about earlier. So we're going to remain, like I said, laser focused on riding the trains, the platforms, and in combination with attacking people entering at the turnstiles and the fare evasion. You know, we have substantial amount of engagement on all levels, including, you know, the Transit Adjudication Bureau summonses. And it's not just fare evasion. We're engaged in actions that prevent littering, prevent the fires that Bobby spoke about, smoking, urinating, the whole gambit. My cops are really engaging to try and improve the customer ridership experience.
And just to follow up, Chief, are you also in touch with New York City's Department of Social Services, as there appear to be more people taking up residence in the stations and on trains? Not only it's not good for them, obviously, to inhale rail dust 24/7, but they're taking up seats on trains that are thankfully a lot more crowded now. And I'm also always aware that somebody could pretend, who means the system harm, could pretend they're a homeless person and at some point just wander off in the tunnel and cause mayhem. So I'm wondering what we're doing to get these folks help and out of stations.
So ongoing, we see what you see. We refer people to DHS all the time for services. We engage when we see people lying on platforms or on trains. You know, we understand there's a huge problem right now with homelessness and with mental health, and we're not shying away from it in the Transit Bureau, not one bit. You know, we are engaged with our partners, and we hope to see improvements.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Glucksman.
Yes, thank you for your report, Chief. I'm looking at page 106 with the summonses. I am riding the subway not as frequently as Commissioner Albert, but I do ride. Mask compliance is pretty good, but it really needs to be better. How many summonses are actually issued? Can we get a breakdown of that? How many are actually issued for different things, including mask wearing?
Well, I can give you, I could get you a breakdown at a later date, but I can tell you we've issued over 22,000 summonses year to date for fare evasion, another 1,000 for unsafe riding, another 8,100 summonses for those other offenses: smoking, littering, urinating. So I can give you at the board, the committee, a more detailed breakdown.
No, I really was more interested in the mask failure to wear a mask on the train.
So I can assure you that we've issued very few of those. Majority of what I've told my cops to do is to make sure you carry masks with you, make sure you wear your mask, and if you encounter somebody on a train, offer them a mask. 99% of the people that we encounter that are not wearing a mask will take a mask, and they'll put that mask on when the officer requires them to do so.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lynn.
Commissioner O'Reilly, first I want to express appreciation for a lot of tremendously fine work that's occurred since you took over, and I think a spirit of collaboration with the MTA that has been important and has moved us forward. And I think the bottom half of the statistics showing the 3.6% reduction in crime is significant and a tribute to the work that you've done in the deployment of additional resources. And as you point out, a very substantial deployment of resources. Having said that, though, November is scary. And it seems to me that with the doubling of major felonies, that is something that hopefully is aberrational and is a month and will be different next month you look at. But on the other hand, is something certainly that we should be focusing on. And I'm wondering, what is there a strong several sentence message that we should be taking as to what we should be doing? I mean, you pointed towards bail and courts as one of the ways to look at, but it seems to me there really needs to be an action plan. If November is a trend, then we really need to figure out what to do. And I'm wondering, what are the lessons you've learned from the time in your position that you could leave us with?
Certainly. So thank you for those comments. Prolific transit offenders. In the recent month, we've arrested some really serious people that are committing crimes time and time again and being released. If you look at our 73 people, 73 arrestees that we arrested in November account for 1,253 prior arrests. 73 arrestees accounted for 402 prior arrests in the transit system alone. So we have people that are committing offenses and being released. We have parolees that are out, and we have 33 patent arrestees during the month of November. So it's like Commissioner Shea has publicly said, if there's going to be no consequences for crime, and if we're going to be arresting people for committing grand larcenies and they're going to be released with a desk appearance ticket, what are they going to go back out and do? They're going to go out and commit another crime. And oftentimes they're committing these crimes while our officers are still in the station house trying to process the paperwork. It's a real shame.
Right. I am concerned about all the crime going on. The murders and rapes I saw are up too. Just scary stuff. And Chief, if we can find ways to make sure that we can get more police officers on the platforms, on the trains, I think that'd put a lot of people at ease. I know me. I do see them all over the place, but I'd like to see them more on the platforms and the trains as well. So if we can, find a way to do some of that. I know all the other stuff is bigger than you, but we do hear you. But last night's death, doesn't make anyone feel better at all, and we need to drive people back into the system.
Certainly, Victor. That's my plan, is to get my cops on the trains and on the platforms, and look forward to working with Pat Warren and the whole team at the MTA in collaboration. We've invited them over to Livingston Street to see our operation, so we can just raise their comfort level as to what we're doing in the Transit Bureau to make their ridership safe. And
the same level of services continue. Number of officers, right? I thought I heard you say that earlier, right? I'm correct.
Yes, that's correct. And also, I'd like to thank the MTA for their installation of the cameras. They've been very helpful for us in solving the crimes after the fact. But we're trying to be in the business of preventing the crimes from occurring in the first place.
All right. Anyone else have any other questions for the chief? Go ahead.
I'm not sure it's for the chief. It may be for Demetrius or somebody here, but it's great that we have cameras in all 472 subway stations. Do we know if all fare control areas are camera equipped, or is it just the main ones at some far-flung stations, for instance?
Yep. Go ahead, Bobby.
It's not every station has what's known as PID cameras. All right. Right now there's a capital plan that's being done that's going to include every station to have PID cameras. What we did do is, with the deployable cameras that we did put up, they're in stations also in those areas.
And what's the approximate date of what you're talking
about?
about?
What? I'll get back to you on that, because I think it has shifted a little bit. I don't want to give you a definitive date right now, but I will get back to you with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you. No other questions. We have two transit procurement this month, with which Lou will present. Lou?
Thank you. Good morning. Good afternoon. The New York City Transit procurement package includes two competitive items for an estimated amount of $110.7 million. The first is an award of a federally funded contract to Nova Bus for $86.9 million to furnish and deliver 135 low-floor, 40-foot diesel buses and related items for the MTA bus company. This was conducted as a request for proposals whereby factors such as overall project cost, delivery, quality of proposer and product, and other relevant matters formed the basis of the evaluation criteria. The solicitation was advertised and eight bus manufacturers were directly contacted. Proposals were received from New Flyer of America and Nova Bus. Negotiations were conducted with both parties. BAFOs were reviewed by the selection committee in accordance with the evaluation criteria, and the selection committee unanimously recommended an award of the buses to Nova. The award to Nova will consist of $86.9 million for the 135 buses, at a price of $643.9 million per bus, plus tools, manuals, training, and capital spares, for a total award amount of $87.4 million. Nova's price per bus is $5,400 lower than New Flyer's and $1.175 million on the overall contract value. Delivery will begin in November 2022 and will complete in March 2023 for an overall period of 16 months from notice of award. Nova will be assembling these buses in their Plattsburgh, New York facility. The second item is an award of 3 5-year estimated quantity miscellaneous service contracts, with each including an option to extend the term for up to 2 additional years for, as Frank mentioned earlier, eligibility assessment services to 3 companies: Gramercy Park, Omni Rehab, and Theradynamics. The combined estimated total amount is $23.1 million, which is based on $16.1 million for the base and $7 million for the option years. These contracts will provide New York City Transit Paratransit and the Revenue Control Reduced Fare Unit with an independent eligibility recommendation based on an assessment of an applicant's disability by licensed medical staff, and how it may or may not prevent their use of fixed-route transportation. This also was conducted as a request for proposals, whereby factors such as proposer's knowledge, relevant experience, demonstrated ability, quality and size of the proposed facilities, approach to staffing and workload management, as well as price and other matters, form the basis of the evaluation criteria. An extensive outreach was conducted, resulting in a total of 17 firms requesting the RFP. 5 proposals were received. 4 negotiations were conducted with 4 proposers. 1 was eliminated, that they lacked knowledge and experience and resources necessary to perform the work. Best and final offers were requested from the 4 proposers, and the selection committee unanimously recommended awards to Gramercy, operating a location in Staten Island, Omni, operating a location in Brooklyn, and Theradynamics, operating locations in the Bronx and Queens. The selection committee unanimously voted to forego awarding a Manhattan facility. I request your approval of all of the items in the agenda.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve procurements? Second? All in favor? Abstain? Okay, procurements carry. Thank you. Okay, so next we have 9 C&D procurement with David Cannon, which David Cannon will present. David?
Thank you. Good afternoon. Construction Development has 8 procurement actions being brought to the Transit and Bus Committee this month for a total of $550 million. There is 1 competitive item and 7 competitive items. I will highlight the non-competitive and 2 of the competitive items. The non-competitive item requests approval of a negotiated contract with Mitsubishi Electric Power Products Incorporated for CBTC equipment for the Queens Boulevard Line East project, also known as QBL East, in the amount of $62.65 million. If you recall, last month, the board adopted a resolution allowing C&D to utilize a non-competitive procurement process to evaluate CBTC equipment supplied by a newly approved supplier, Mitsubishi, in revenue service on the QBL East project. This proposed action will provide New York City Transit an opportunity to evaluate Mitsubishi's production quality and performance, as well as Mitsubishi's ability to efficiently validate and commission its CBTC equipment in a revenue service environment. The QBL East project was selected as it is the first CBTC project to be procured after Mitsubishi's qualification and is an ideal environment as the entire project consists of 4 stations at the tail end of the F line with no intersecting or adjacent lines. In addition, providing New York City Transit with an opportunity to test and evaluate Mitsubishi's performance on a revenue service line. This contract will also provide Mitsubishi with the engineering, project management, and track training experience to be able to compete with the other two qualified suppliers for future CBTC projects, lowering the cost of future CBTC equipment contracts. I submit this procurement action for your consideration and vote.
Sitting in for Victor, Andrew has a question.
Yeah. So the Queens Boulevard line has experienced service issues because of various interactions between Thales and Siemens equipment and various car types. Do we know how the Mitsubishi version of this is going to interact with the other two, or is that what this test is all about?
So we can call it the experts, but generally speaking, this equipment was tested and is determined to be interoperable. So really, we're just giving Mitsubishi an opportunity, their first foray onto the system. So the equipment works and it's interoperable, but it's never been used on our system before. This is sort of an end of the line opportunity, smaller project to get them up to speed, so that on future projects we will compete them against Siemens and Thales and hope to get better pricing at the end. So this is really an evaluation and an opportunity for them to get up to speed.
So this will be between 179th Street and Sutphin Boulevard, or something like that, those 4 stations?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Dave, you done?
For that procurement.
We have a couple more.
Okay.
We have a couple.
So why don't we go through them all? Right?
I need a vote on this one separately from the other.
So, all in favor? Any opposed or abstain? Okay, David?
Thank you. The first competitive item I would like to highlight requests approval of a publicly advertised and competitively solicited design-build contract for accessibility upgrades at 8 stations to MLJ Contracting Corporation, TC Electric joint venture in the amount of $242.4 million. The contract includes the installation of 11 new elevators that will provide full accessibility at the following elevated, open cut, and below ground stations: Westchester Square on the Pelham line, 8th Avenue on the Sea Beach line, 181st Street on the 8th Avenue line, Woodhaven Boulevard on the Jamaica line, Court Square Station on the Crosstown line, and Queensboro Plaza on the Astoria and Flushing lines. In addition, the work will include replacement of 5 existing elevators that have reached the end of their useful lives at the Marcy Avenue and Flushing Avenue stations on the Jamaica line. The work also includes state of good repairs work at Woodhaven Boulevard station on the Jamaica and Westchester Square station on the Pelham lines. The third item requests approval of the award of a related 15-year elevator maintenance contract to Modern Elevators Installations Incorporated in the amount of $9 million. The design-build contract and the maintenance of the elevators were procured through a single solicitation in which only the design builder's elevator manufacturer or installer subcontractor was eligible for the award of the maintenance contract, with the goal of ensuring that the design builder work in concert with his elevator subcontractor to choose sufficiently robust equipment that would not only withstand the rigors of the New York City transit system, but would also take into consideration the elevator subcontractor's ultimate responsibility for a performance-based long-term maintenance contract. A 2-step request for proposal method was conducted to procure this contract, which resulted in both MLJ Contracting Corporation, TC Electric joint venture, and Martin being unanimously selected for award based on their proposals offering the best overall value, considering the technical strength of their proposals, their understanding of the work, the combined lowest proposed cost, and reductions to schedule. The remaining 5 competitive items are described in detail and the staff summaries contained within your committee books. I submit these 7 procurement actions for your consideration and vote.
Do I hear a motion to approve the procurements? Second? All in favor? Any opposed or abstain? All right. Thank you. The procurements carry. All right. That's the end of the procurements, right, David? I missed one. I had to roll out for a second. Okay. So I'm now going to turn it over to, thank you, David, for that. I appreciate it.
Welcome, and I wish everybody a happy holiday season, happy and safe one.
And you too, David. I'm going to turn it over to Judy McLean to review 2 service changes.
Good afternoon. This month, there are 2 service change staff summaries in your committee books. The first is for the Bronx Local Bus Network redesign, which was delayed due to COVID-19. I'm extremely pleased that this proposal, which will improve local bus service in the Bronx, is now coming to the board for approval. Dorian Statham, Operations Planning Director of Bus Network Redesigns, and Rob Thompson, Manager of the Bronx Local Bus Network Redesign, are here today to give a presentation on our proposal and to answer any questions you might have. Dorian?
Thank you, Judy. We'll jump right into it. So why are we redesigning the bus network? So the Bronx bus network has not changed substantially in decades, with many of our routes are still following old trolley lines. As New York City and the Bronx grows and changes, and our customers' needs change, our bus service needs to change as well. This redesigns the opportunity to look comprehensively at the full Bronx local bus network. Bronx speeds, as we heard earlier, are some of the slowest in the country at 7 miles per hour during the peak periods. Ridership has been declining for the past decade. Congestion has worsened, that has slowed our bus speeds, but also decreased our service reliability. The Bronx redesign aims to improve not only our bus service, but also our customer experience. So this slide just walks us through the redesign process. The Bronx redesign really started in the fall of 2018. In 2019, we released an existing conditions report, a draft plan, and a proposed final plan. And based on community concern regarding the express bus proposals at that time, we decided to only proceed with just the local bus plan. So this is only about the local bus plan, not about express buses. We will restart the express bus redesign at a later date. So in February of last year, we had a public hearing on just the local plan up in the Bronx. We got a lot of feedback there, but then immediately after that, we had COVID-19 and we paused the project for 18 months. Earlier this year in the fall, we restarted the redesigns, and then last month we released an addendum to the final plan and also had another public meeting to get additional feedback. So here we are presenting this to the board, and if approved, we would like to implement in summer of next year. As I mentioned earlier, public engagement has been an integral part of the redesign process since the beginning. We have asked our customers for input throughout the entire process, and we'll continue to do that through implementation. Part of our strategy in the Bronx has been to meet our customers where they are. So with that, we had 6 activity-based workshops and 9 informational open houses in the Bronx and Upper Manhattan. We also held 22 outreach events at bus stops and subway stations. And at each of these events, there were opportunities for the public to speak directly to our bus planners. Also, we've tried to utilize digital tools for our customers. So we have a comprehensive website where you can leave comments. We also did in-person and online surveys. And so through that process, we received thousands of comments and survey responses, which we've used to inform our plan. And what we heard from our customers is that they would like more direct service, fewer stops with faster service, but also improved crosstown connections. So with this next slide, I'm just going to talk briefly about these strategies. There's some slides later where I go into a little bit more detail. Our customers wanted a simpler network. They wanted our routes to be more direct and straightforward. They also wanted enhanced connectivity, which is in the Bronx. It really means east-west bus connections, which are very important to our customers, but also looking to improve frequency so they have faster trips. And also we partnered with New York City Department of Transportation to expand bus priority in line with the redesign. So choosing corridors that we were looking to improve service or improve frequency to also speed those buses up on those corridors as well. And then the last thing is balancing bus stops, which really improves the speed, but also the reliability of our service. So as I said before, I'll go into a little bit more detail about each of these strategies. In the Bronx, we simplified the network. We have 14 routes that we made route changes on. to speed them up, and make them more direct and straightforward, and also streamline them. And also, I want to highlight here really the two new routes: the BX25, which is providing service from Co-op City and going over to Bedford Park, and also the M125, which is new service at the south section of the BX15. So it's really going from the hub in the South Bronx and going across the 125th Street corridor in Harlem. Enhanced connectivity, there's some extensions for routes, really, once again, focusing on these east-west connections, the BX6 SBS to Soundview, the BX11 to Parkchester, the BX18 in Highbridge, and also the BX35 to West Farms, and then a couple of new connections, the BX25, which I mentioned previously, the BX30 providing new service on Boston Road, and also the BX4042, which is serving a ADA accessible station, the East 180th Street station on the 25. Going back to improving frequency, which is very important, we want to create an all-day frequent network with service of 8 minutes or better for our customers. So we did improve frequency on 11 routes on 9 key corridors to support that. And then just this last slide, looking at balancing bus stops. Right now, in New York City and in the Bronx, our stops are about every 800 feet. With the redesign, we've increased that to 1,100 feet, which is more in line with our peers. For each stop we remove, our customers save about 20 seconds. And when we did this evaluation, we really looked at ridership, we looked at demographics, looked at key connection and transfers, and we made sure that we preserved those stops. But we also looked at community facilities, whether it's a school, whether it was serving a senior center or a healthcare facility. We want to make sure that we kept those stops. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Rob Thompson to kind of go through more details about the route proposals.
All right, thanks, Dorian. First, I'm going to be talking about some updates to the final plan. On the BX6 SBS, the proposal was to reroute it from Hunts Point to Soundview on the eastern end. That would require a costly relocation of the SBS fare machines. And given that those machines are expected to be retired when the MetroCard is retired in 2023, it really does not make sense to make that change this year. So the changes to the BX6 and associated changes to the BX5 are going to be postponed until mid-2023 when that happens. Meanwhile, the BX28 and the BX34 proposals that we had in the proposed final plan, we heard a lot of opposition to those proposals from the communities, and therefore we've modified the plan, and those routes are going to remain as they are today. So next I'm going to go into some highlights of the proposed final plan, which you can also review on our website in the featured projects section. Going to the, well, first of all, just the maps on these next few pages, I'll just highlight that the green lines are new or change service, blue lines are existing service remaining unchanged, and the red dash lines are removed service. So in the central Bronx, central and western Bronx, the BX36 and BX4042 are no longer going to trade places when they cross Webster Avenue. Instead, the BX36 is going to provide continuous service along Tremont Avenue and also will not be doing the current dogleg type maneuver that it does at Boston Road. Meanwhile, the BX40 and 42 is going to operate on 180th Street, providing a brand new bus connection to the East 180th Street ADA accessible subway station. The BX11 is going to follow a straighter path through the Highbridge neighborhood, and it will also be extended eastward along 174th Street to replace the BX36 in that area, all the way to Parkchester. The BX35 is going to be extended on its eastern end to replace the BX11. And finally, the BX18 is going to be extended into Highbridge with an increased frequency to replace the BX11. Moving on to Soundview, Parkchester, and the South Bronx, there's a couple of major changes there. To better serve the majority of BX4 and 4A customers who mostly ride the eastern section of those routes, the BX4A will no longer operate south of West Farms Road, while both routes are going to be increased in frequency to have a combined frequency of 8 minutes or better all day. And Dorian mentioned the plan of the BX6 SBS, as I did before also, that the change will still happen, but it will not happen until 2023 when the MetroCard is retired. Moving on to the Northeast Bronx and Co-op City, there are multiple changes happening there. There will be a new BX25 route that's sort of an overlay of the BX26, providing connections from Allerton Avenue into northern Co-op City. The BX30 will be providing a new connection continuing all the way down Boston Road instead of going across Gun Hill Road. The BX29 will no longer serve Co-op City, but will still have new overnight service on City Island, connecting from City Island to Pelham Bay Park subway station. And the Q50 will only serve Co-op City in peak periods. Meanwhile, to replace that BX29 and Q50 service, the BX23 will have increased frequency between Co-op City and the Pelham Bay Park station. And finally, in this area, the BX24 is going to be streamlined in Country Club, where it currently makes a very meandering path. Lastly, in terms of highlighting some corridors, 125th Street. Right now, there are two long north-south routes that go across 125th Street at their southern legs, the M100 and the BX15, which are both sort of L-shaped. These routes suffer from slow speeds and unreliability, mainly because of the conditions they experience on 125th Street. And that the majority of their customers are not actually going to or riding along 125th. So both routes are going to be removed from 125th Street and instead there will be a new M125 route going all the way across 125th Street and connecting into the Bronx to the hub to connect to the BX15. Going back to sort of recap our timeline, since restarting the project in September, we have done extensive outreach, including meeting with elected officials, the Bronx Borough Board, and multiple community boards. And we did hold, of course, an online public meeting last month. And if we get approval from the board to proceed, we'll be implementing the plan this coming summer. And that concludes our presentation, and I'll just turn it back over to Judy.
Does anyone have any questions for Dorian or Robert? Thank you so much for the presentation, and thanks to the whole redesign team. It was really a joint effort between operations planning, the Department of Buses, government community relations, strategy, and customer services. So it was a really big effort. Thanks to everyone. The second service change staff summary in your book is for board information only. As Craig mentioned last month, the MTA will be assuming operation of the SIM23 and SIM24 express bus routes effective January 3rd. These routes, which are currently operated by Academy Bus under contract with the City of New York, will be slightly revised in Staten Island, reverting to those operated prior to 2020. The City and Academy had revised the routing of the SIM23 and 24 routes back in January of 2020 to serve the Outer Bridge Park and Ride. However, only very few riders use the Park and Ride. We believe customers will be better served by a new stop at Amboy Road on Huguenot Avenue. As we have always done, and what has made our redesign process so successful, we will evaluate these latest comments, like those heard today, and announce any changes before the start of the service. With New York City Transit taking over the routes, we will be able to provide SIM23 and 24 customers with a more reliable and seamless service, using buses outfitted with Omni and be able to be tracked in real time using various apps such as My MTA. New York City Transit will operate the same number of trips on each route currently operated by Academy Bus, but will monitor service and adjust it as needed. There will be no budget impact to New York City Transit as a result of the assumption of these routes and service changes. The city will be funding the capital and operating expenses incurred by New York City Transit for these routes, net of fare box revenues. Does anyone have any questions about this? Okay, that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Judy. I appreciate it. I like the fact that the redesign, and can I have a motion to approve the Bronx bus redesign service change? Second? All in favor? Any noes, abstains? We're good to go. It's approved. All right. Congratulations to Bronx. It should serve you well. All right. Craig, any other items on our agenda?
Yes, the fiscal year 2022 final proposed budget and the four-year financial plan for the years 2022 through 2025 for New York City Transit, Staten Island Railway, and MTA Bus Company are in the committee book. Budget and financial plan information was included in the materials that were presented to the MTA board last month and will be presented again to both the Finance Committee and the full board for final approval this month.
Any questions on the budget?
No, Mr. Chair, before we adjourn, which I hope is immediate, because of the time situation, I'm going to call the Finance Committee at 1:30. Okay.
Thank you. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Second? All right. All in favor? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.